What role does doubt play in your faith?
Well, doubt is the thing that keeps the questions going, so it keeps it alive. If you stop doubting, then everything would rather kind of dry up, really, because you'd just be saying, "Oh yes, this is it. I don't need to think about it."
Yeah.
So doubt is that kind of fuel which keeps you reasoning and arguing and thinking and reflecting and wondering if you've got it right or not.
Okay. Hi, welcome to Lmyf, episode 3. I'm here with
Bob White.
And what do you do?
Vicar of St Mary's in Fratton in Portsmouth.
Okay. How long have you been doing that for?
17 years.
Okay. So I'm running a series called Lmyf, where I seek to delve deep with people about perhaps what makes them vulnerable, to kind of expose that at the end of the day we're all human and we're all grasping for truth. That's what this series is about. So Bob, what's the relevance of the Church of England today? You have attendance rates at kind of an all-time low. How is it relevant?
I think it's relevant in that we continue to be a presence in every community and are a voice in every community that seeks to encourage people to think about what matters in life and to help people to look beyond the way that the world sometimes portrays itself and to recognise other values and other truths that will help them to make sense of community in their lives.
Okay, so its presence is felt all across the country, and it forces people to think deeper about what goes on in their life. But I mean, if less and less people are engaging with this, how does it stay relevant? And also, what do you attribute that to?
Depends what you mean by less and less people engagement. The less and less people are attending every single week. So we've got the falling attendance figures based on if you count everyone on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
If you count the numbers attending over Christmas, that number is holding and is sometimes growing. If you count the number who attend for funerals and weddings and baptisms and christenings through the year, that number is quite high. So it's a difficult one. Once you start playing the numbers game, it's quite difficult to know what you're counting. So yeah, we're not having the same impact on the society that we had when people were there week in and week out. But there is still a sense in which we are touching the lives of a high number of people through a whole number of different activities and events and celebrations.
Yeah. But I mean, like, what distinguishes the church from, say, kind of any other organisation that like brings people in? Because like, if you're not appealing to a great deal of people, then kind of what's the point? Like, why isn't that message penetrating these days?
So again, it depends what you're counting as what's the message that we're trying to penetrate. What impact is it having? That there are places and groups in our society where we don't seem to be having any engagement. But the role of the church, the presence of the bishops in the House of Lords and comments that they're making, ways that they're able to influence the way that decisions are being made, places in our own communities where we are part of conversations and partnerships which look at improving the quality of life, conversations you have with people in different contexts about what really matters in their life and where faith has a role to play, how we build communities where there's fragmentation and breakdown of relationship. All of those things are ways in which the church is just very quietly getting on with being part of the communities that we're in.
Perhaps too quietly.
Well, if we're there to say, look at us, how good we're doing, we're too quiet. But we're not there to blow our own trumpets and say, look, aren't we great? Well, look at what we've done this week.
Yeah.
So it's just that quiet, continuous presence that is about building relationship, building networks, helping people to see beyond the here and now and the immediate.
Okay. So in terms of people turning up week in, week out, there has been a marked decline. What do you attribute that to?
I think change of culture, change of lifestyle, pressures of living.
So talk to me about the culture.
I think the culture is the whole the way in which we're now a society, which is very individualistic.
Mm.
So when I was growing up, you would all watch the same television programs because you couldn't choose. So the next day you'd meet and talk about this exactly the same program that you'd all watch at exactly the same time, and you'd all know exactly what was going on. It's a very minor way of illustrating it, but nowadays you can choose what you watch, when you watch, and how you watch.
Yeah.
And you could be watching it one day, and I won't watch it for another 6 months. So there's no common language. There's no common sense of being part of a community. We can all live in the way that we choose to live. That means our understanding of common activities where we all gather in the same place at the same time is quite limited.
So a sense of community has been lost.
I think there's a fragmentation of community going on. Community means different things now to what it did mean. So community was everyone gathered in one place at one time with a common purpose, physically possibly.
Yeah.
Or everyone who lived in the same geographical area would be part of one community. That's probably not the case now. There's probably a number of different communities, either real or virtual, social media, YouTube, all provide different communities, different networks, where you don't actually have to meet with that person to be part of that community. So you don't need to go somewhere to belong. Whereas worshipping in a Christian community is about being in the same place with other people at the same time.
Is that a flaw? Is the church behind the development of community that has gone on?
You might say we're countercultural, and we might be saying actually there's something quite important about being face to face with somebody and actually sharing a time and a space with people, some of whom you may not choose to do it with. Because now with community of social network or whatever, it's like-minded. So I can choose to be somebody I get on with.
Right.
Being part of a Christian community, you are part of a community of people of different backgrounds, cultures, people who are like you, people who are not like you at all, people you might think are great, people you might struggle with. But that's not what it's about. It's about coming together and recognising those differences and saying, but we are still part of this body together.
So, aside from cultural changes, why are less people going to church?
That's hard for me to answer.
That is, yeah. But you were listing off a bunch of things before.
I think culturally, I think it's that.
It's kind of all encompassing.
It's that then onto the pressures of the way people, the stresses of and the demands of working these days, and to keep family life going, or to keep an individual life going, are much greater. So pressures on weekends are now very different. So when on a Sunday you had the time, the space, and you could think, well, that's it, I can go to church now. Those opportunities don't really exist because there's other things that you could or should be doing. Quite a lot of people now have to work at the weekends, shops are open at the weekends, all sorts of leisure activities take place. So that sense where Sunday was seen as a day of rest, of stepping back from the world, and just cutting off all the normal regular activity and just pausing, of which going to church was therefore a part, that's disappeared as well. So there isn't that sense of here's a common space where we can gather, where we can just be reflective on our lives, because life never stops now. There is no Sabbath in that sense.
Yeah, and I guess the changing culture informs all of those things, and also, like it was the case before, arguably, that society was designed around this structure, Sunday being the day of rest, shops being closed, but then I think it was Thatcher that said that shops should be open on a Sunday, and so all of these kind of institutions that existed to sort of preserve the English faith have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has the church responded adequately?
I think it's beginning to, and I think there are places and communities around exploring different ways of being church. So places like Harbour in Portsmouth and others are looking at different models, different styles that say actually we need to be more flexible and adaptable.
Okay.
And even traditional churches like St Mary's and others are saying, church isn't just about Sunday. So church isn't just for Sundays only. It's now, and I think different traditions and different styles in the church are looking at that in different ways.
Yeah.
And encouraging people to think about faith really national initiative about setting God's people free, which is about saying being a Christian isn't just about coming to church on Sunday morning, it's about how you live your life Sunday afternoon and the rest of the week until you come back to church again. So it's actually saying, how do we get that message out more, rather than just what matters is how many people come to church on a Sunday.
Yeah. So, kind of, on the one hand, you have cultural changes, but on the other hand, do you think the church is winning the argument? The argument about kind of whether there is a God, whether there needs to be a God, whether any of it matters. Like, is that an argument worth having? And if it is the church winning it? Is it really informing that debate? Because from where I'm sitting, like, people's default position these days is it doesn't matter.
Mm.
And in that sense, it appears to be losing the debate.
I think for me, it's a question of whether that's always been the case, and are we deluding ourselves into thinking there was this golden era, goodness knows when, where everyone believed that God was really important, and suddenly now we're in a crisis because nobody does. I'm not sure that's true.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think there is as many people actively involved in discussing the value and the importance of God and why God matters. What difference does it make? Now, whether it's an argument that we're winning or losing, I don't quite know how you assess that. But it's a debate that continues to go on. Therefore, people must be engaging in it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation because it wouldn't matter. If it doesn't matter that God doesn't exist, then why are we talking about it?
That's true.
But there is something about that particular debate, and particularly about, where is God in creation, where is God in everything else, that just keeps kind of bubbling away, and the church keeps bringing forward its case and its views on that, because the world seems to want to talk about it. It doesn't necessarily agree with it, but it is posing the questions that people want to think about.
So why does the world still want to talk about it?
Because I think we're still wrestling with the why question.
Yeah.
We can get closer and closer into the what's and the hows,
Right.
but the why question will always be a question we can't answer with total confidence, because it's not something that is tangible and factual and scientifically provable.
So you can't answer with total confidence?
I can't answer with total confidence why. Why do we exist? I've got my views, I've got my kind of where I've got to in my thinking, but I can't with total confidence say, and therefore that must be true. I can say I think it's true.
But you can't say you know it's true.
No.
Yeah.
Because I accept that there is evidence that argues both sides of the argument. There's how do you resolve that factual debate? Well, you can't, because why is not a quantifiable matter. So cosmologists can take us right back to the beginning, but they still can't say why did this happen.
Yeah.
And that's the bit, therefore, that we're all wrestling with. And I'd be foolish to say, and I know the answer.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. But I think that's why the questions keeps coming back again and again and again, and why the church still has a role to play in saying, here is a possible, this is our understanding of the answer why. But let's talk about it.
So would the Archbishop say the same thing? Like, I don't know this.
I can't answer for the archbishops, but I think,
in your estimation,
I think they're realistic to say that they can't 100% say this is it, full stop.
Yeah.
But that their belief and their faith and their commitment and their experience leads them to the conclusion that they come to. I think in one of Graham Greene's novels, Monsignor Quixote, the whole thing is about the importance of doubt. And the lead character, the communist mayor, wakes up from a nightmare where suddenly it's the priest wakes up from the nightmare, that suddenly there is no doubt because Jesus has proved by stepping off of the cross at the moment of death that there is nothing that anyone needs to question anymore. So historically he proves it to be true there and then. And he says, but that would just be horrendous, because my faith would disappear. Because I now there's nothing to argue with, there's nothing to think about, there's nothing to reflect on.
right?
Because I know it's quite a. I keep going. You keep thinking doubt is actually quite an important element. providing you allow it to
Just
be
the motivation.
something. It gets you thinking, it gets you talking, it gets this conversation going, it gets other conversations going. That doesn't mean that we therefore say, oh, it's fine to doubt, that's okay, because you've got to do something with it. If you're doubting, then argue, reason, explore, search for the answer that's right for you.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, no, I doubt, and therefore I'm not
Yeah,
going
it
to
is
bother.
easy to get lost in doubt.
Yeah, you can just say, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't believe it's true.
Sure. Okay, so finally, would you have a word to give on how you see the Church of England developing in the next 50 years?
From where I sit, I think a number of colleagues and I have conversations about it quite often, that we just need to, some of us just need to hold our nerve, that what we are doing day by day in being faithful servants of communities, faithfully saying our prayers, witnessing to God, in the midst of all this change and whatever else goes on around us, is actually what the Church of England brings that is unique. And we can do lots of other things, we can explore lots of other things, but actually we've got to hold on to that Christian presence in every community, serving the people, being there for them in times of celebration and joy and sadness, and being a constant presence. That's, I think, where our future lies. But the danger is we lose our nerve because we worry about the falling numbers, because we worry about all the other exciting things going on, and we think, oh no, we're fossils who need to just go away and be quiet.
Wow.
I actually think we've got something that's equally as valuable and as important to community and to life that we need to hang on to.
Okay, thank you.